Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Astrology for Beginners. Hi, I'm Nigel St. James. This is the fourth video in the series, Astrology for Beginners, the fourth of 20 to be done. And you'll be able to easily find all the videos that have been produced by looking at the playlist in my channel. There you'll find it's very easy to see, and then you can pick and choose whichever video or videos you would like to look, which have to do with the subject of astrology for beginners. They all run for about 10 or 15 minutes. In any event, today we're going to look at the symbols for Venus and for Mars. Now, as you know, astrology has a very, very long tradition, and what many people in modern days don't understand is that the symbols of the planets themselves have spiritual significance, and that's what we're looking at as part of the underpinning, a base layer that you can be aware of when you are embarking upon your interesting exploration of the study of astrology. Now we're going to look first at the planet of Venus. Well, for me, Venus is the most occult planet, the most mysterious planet, and its sign, its glyph, reflects that. Its influence on you is very profound, and you will recall from previous videos that we have seen that this is the symbol or glyph, as they are often called, for Venus, and quite simply it is a circle with a cross hanging off the bottom of it. Now, interestingly, have you ever seen the symbol for the planet Earth? Well, I'll just draw it to you and you'll be able to understand as we go through this what the significance is. The Earth is actually done the other way around. I'll just draw it there before I rub it out. And it is, if you like, the reverse of Venus. The symbol for Earth is the circle with the cross on top of it. And that's something just to bear in mind if ever you happen to come across it. And as I go through the explanation of the spirituality of the symbol of Venus, then you'll understand. Now, I'll rub that out now so it doesn't cause us any confusion as we go along, and not that you're liable to be confused because you're far too intelligent for that. But let's have a look. The circle in here represents spiritual essence that is enduring. Spiritual essence that is enduring throughout all of physical manifestation, and even manifestation which is not physical, I might add. Reality is far more extensive than our five senses can give testimony to. What the Hindus say, or some of the Hindu astrologers say, is that the planet Venus is masculine. Now, I personally disagree with that. I think that the gender, if we can put it that way, the principle relating to the planet Venus is of the female principle. And as I go through, you'll understand why that is so. One of the reasons why I say that it is the female principle which is important, which relates to Venus, is because the Venusian, that's of Venus, the Venusian impulse is important for producing, for nourishing, and for protecting all life on Earth, including you. Now, the cross, which is underneath the circle, as you will recall it, the cross actually, you'll remember from an earlier video, the cross generally represents the vertical masculine principle and the horizontal female principle. It also represents eternal life in spirit and eternal life in matter. What the cross represents, because it meets at the middle, remember, these two strong forces meet at the middle. Well, in the middle of the cross, in the sign for Venus, there is tremendous activity. It's like a turbulent ocean. It's like positive and negative coming together. And it can also be seen as male and female coming together. It is the clash, I suppose, of different principles which exist in material existence. Now, in spirit, of course, everything is one, but when we come onto this material plane, there is then diversity. We go from unity to diversity. The spirit is unified, the divinity is unified. When we come onto this plane, certainly by the time we get to this plane, anyway, I should say, we are diversified and there is diversity, there is division. Now, what the cross does is the cross, and I will have recourse to this again, the cross drags down spiritual energy, spiritual essence into this life, drags it down into this plane that we exist in. Now, the Venusian, this cross, of course, represents materiality and material things. And what Venus then does is, Venus can, as a result of that tremendous pull of spirit into matter, it can tend to make us self-indulgent. The concentration of Venus on materiality can make us seek self-gratification. Now, it's also the case that this symbol, because it is such a mixture here of the spirit intentionally into the material world, that there is a great focus upon relationships. There's a great focus also upon inspiration, beauty. Beauty is something which is, if you like, exists in this realm here, within this circle, and what we do is we interpret it and bring it down. So someone which is very a higher octave, if you like, might be an artist or a musician, an actor, a dancer, somebody involved in literature, a creative activity of anything. What happens is that the person in effect reaches, it could also be a mathematician, for example, they reach into this realm that's here where all these forms exist, and they pull it down and interpret it to turn it into materialization. The symbol here is talking about the urge of the spiritual to become manifest in matter. Now, esoterically, I've told you that it, maybe did I mention that it guides social evolution, personal relationships, and in particular also sexual unions, and is particularly interested in and the foundation of sexual pleasure and physical well-being in general, I should say. Now, esoterically, on an occult basis, what this symbol recognizes is that if you can imagine this is a plane of existence, a spiritual plane of existence, and then separate to that is this material plane, the one which we inhabit. So there is, if you like, the graphic illustration that we exist in this material realm, which is a realm that is different to, though influenced by and infused with, this spiritual realm that's here. Now, in a way, it reflects, I suppose, the story of the Garden of Eden that many of you might recall from the Hebrew Bible book of Genesis, the first book in the Bible, and also the Christian Old Testament, where in chapter 2, where Adam and Eve, Adam had been told not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of the difference between good and bad. He told his wife, Eve, this. She was then accosted, well, not accosted, but a serpent came up to her and said, because at the time, God had said to Adam, if you eat from this tree, you will die. And the serpent came up and said to him, you'll remember the story, did God really tell you that you would die if you eat from this tree? And the woman said, yes, that's the case. And the snake said, you won't die. In any event, the woman looked at the tree and thought that the fruit, now it's not an apple, it's not specified what the fruit is, but she thought that the fruit looked delicious and looked as if it was something that was able to also impart wisdom. And so she ate and her eyes were open. She became wise. She also gave some fruit to Adam, he ate, and he also was awakened and became wise. Now, he knew the difference between good and bad as a result of it. Now, many people say that this is an act of disobedience on behalf of the two characters. Now, of course, in the story, they're only a few hours old, and they weren't really, intelligent enough, I suppose, on one view, to be able to be obedient or disobedient. But suffice it to say that it's as if Eve, by having the wisdom, understood that, look, God may have said, don't eat from this tree, but he actually wanted us to eat from it. He wanted us to know the difference between good and bad. Because in the other realms, angels are not affected by good or bad, whereas in this realm, good and bad are mixed together. They're intertwined, if you like. And so, if you like, Eve was the brains behind the operation, and she said, listen, there's something which we need to do. There is another realm that God actually wants us to go to, out of this Garden of Eden where we currently exist, and to go into this realm of matter, where good and evil are mixed together, where if you're about to undertake an act, is the act good or bad? If you're about to say something, is it good or bad? If you have an intention to do something, is it good or bad? How do you react to people? What do you do in circumstances? Good and bad are mixed together, and we need to use our moral compass and our intelligence to work out what is the difference between the two, and hopefully to choose good rather than the bad. Well, it was Eve who understood and was the leader, and said that God then said, okay, now not by way of punishment, incidentally. The book should not be read like that. But God said, well, look, okay, Eve, what's going to happen is from now on, you're going to have childbirth, and childbirth is going to be painful and difficult for you. And as for you, Adam, you will be spending your time tilling the soil with the sweat on your brow, and life is going to be hard. Very different to this Garden of Eden, this spiritual realm that you are in now. This particular realm, you're going into this other one now where things are entirely different. In a way, what it is that God had called upon them, and God calls upon you, to come into this realm where free will exists, where nature is in constant flux, where people and animals are in constant flux and exercising, and certainly in the case of humans, free will, and to seek to make it right, to seek to rejoin this plane of existence with that of the unity. So that's another reason why I think that, for me, esoterically, that the planet of Venus is feminine and not masculine, as is the opinion of the very learned Hindu astrologers. Now, the next sign is Mars, and Mars is actually quite straightforward, and you will recall from the earlier videos, and remember they're on the playlist in my channel, they run for about 10 or 15 minutes. Mars is really quite simple. The most important aspect of this thing is this thing here, it's the arrow. Now, the arrow is used historically it has been used for hunting, historically it's been used for warfare, both aggressively and defensively. And it is still today used in sport, such as archery. The point about the arrow is that it is an instrument which is to enable you to get to a target which is difficult to otherwise get to. So what happens is that you are then using ambition, and Mars itself is very ambitious, great degree of ambition around Mars. As for gender, I assign masculinity to it. Not because I'm saying that women are not ambitious. They certainly are, maybe often in a different way to males. But Mars is as important to females as it is to males. Now, the other thing I'll say is this, is that very often astrologers, in fact, pretty well most astrologers say that Mars is a bad planet. They say it is a malefic, it causes bad things. I don't agree with that. And the reason why I don't agree with that is because spiritually, what the underpinning of it is this. Now, of course, it's fiery, it's red, and it looks angry and everything like this up in the night sky. But the fact of the matter is this, is that if you look at the sign itself in its whole sense, rather than just this ambitious, focused, one-minded way of getting to things, you can see that in here lies the entire potential of all potential, and potential within yourself, which basically needs to break out in the way that this arrow is breaking out from this circle of latent potential that's in you. It is the storehouse of all potential. And this is the if you like, the symbol of the unknown depth from which everything comes. Now, whatever is inside and inside you comes out with Mars. It comes out. And this is very much about what's happening with you. It comes out. And it also means then that whatever is inside is going to come out. Now, in a way, it's like a little bird breaking out of an egg. It's like a baby coming out of a birth passage. When you break through that shell, when that veil is taken away, when that arrow points away upwards, as you can see in the sign there, it's not downwards, it's pointed up, then the veil is lifted. Now, it may be painful, but one thing you know is that life will never be the same. And generally, what is happening is that Mars is doing good and not bad for you. The planet is divine energy, which is directed by the arrow at a purpose which is good for your existence and your evolution spiritually upon this earth. Well, that's it for now. Next video we'll do both Jupiter and Saturn, and until then, remember that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, it's bye for now.